Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start creating and placing a rectangle at the point of origin. So here is what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna go to the rectangle command and we're gonna click on rectangle. And once I click on the rectangle command, it's asking me to specify the first corner point. Now the first corner point is gonna be 0 and the other corner point is 0, 0 because we're starting at the origin here. So all I need to do is type 0 and click tab on my keyboard and type 0 again and click enter. Now as you can see, once we did that, we have the origin point of the rectangle starting from the X and Y. Now, if I drag my rectangle like this, all I have to do is put the values for the kitchen length and width, which we already have known before. So we need to put 3810, and we need for the X, and we need to put 1830. Again, those are in millimeters. We have to put them in millimeters. So if I go back here, now I need to specify the other corner point. The X goes first, so it is 3810. I'm gonna click tab on the keyboard, and then I'm gonna put for the Y 1830 and enter. So the other video, which is exploding objects in CAD, this is what we want to do. We need to actually, since the rectangle is just one entity, and we need to move this line here up, we're going to use a command called explode. Now this command here lives in a modify panel, and this is the icon of explode, or we can go here and type explode on the command panel and click enter. And once I do that, it asks me to select objects. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click here, select the objects and click enter again on my keyboard. And now if I hover over each one of those lines, they are individual segments. And we did this by using, again, the explode command by clicking here to access it, or by typing here explode and selecting the object, click enter, and then you will find that each one of those segments is an individual segment. So the other thing that we're going to be doing in video 3 is moving this line up with a specific distance. The specific distance that we know here is 1220. Now we need to understand that to move an object, we need to give a value for the X and a value for the Y. Since we are not moving, now if we're moving vertically, this basically means that we are moving on the Y axis, meaning that we have a value on the Y axis, but since we are not moving this line here to any in the X direction, this means that the X will have a 0 because we're not moving the object horizontally, we're only moving it vertically. So we're going to be doing this. I'm going to go to move. I'm going to click on move. Now move again works or lives in the modify panel. I can access move using two different methods. I can click on move here, or I can type move on the keyboard and click enter. And it's asking me to select the object that you want to move. Now this is the object that I want to move, so I'm just going to click on it. And I'm going to click enter on my keyboard. Now it's asking you to specify a base point or displacement. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is this. I'm going to specify a base point. A base point is this point basically, which is one of the points of the corner. And I'm going to go up. Now when I'm going up here, if I don't want to make sure that I'm not going to any direction other than the vertical or horizontal direction, I need to make sure that I'm clicking on the ortho mode, which is this one. Okay, so once I do that, I can see that I'm going up and down exactly in a 90-degree angle. Now all I have to do is to type the value that I want this line to go up to, which is 1220, enter. Okay, so I just typed the distance that I wanted this line to move to. Okay, so this is a way for us to make sure that the line moves in a specific direction. You can check your work by doing this. I'm going to go to the measure command. I'm going to go to distance. I'm going to make sure that on ortho in the object snap, I have endpoint turned on, and I will click here on this point and click here on this point, and I can see that this is 1220 exactly. So to trim those two vertical lines that we don't need anymore, this is what we are going to be doing. We're going to go to a command here. It's called the trim command. Now, the trim command lives with another command called extend. You need to click here on the drop-down arrow to make sure that the one that you're selecting is the one that you need. Okay, in our exercise here, at this point, we need the trim command. We will be using extend shortly, but we need the trim. So I'm going to click on trim, and once I click on the trim command, you're going to see that it changes to that to reflect that scissor icon. It's asking me which object you want to trim. So I need to select the part of the object, okay, that I don't need, which is in our case this part. Once I hover over it, as you can see that the line turns gray, and you have that X icon on it, meaning that if this is the one that you want to click on, it's going to be deleted. Okay, so I'm just going to click on it, click on the part that I want to be deleted, and it's going to be deleted. Now I'm going to hover over the other side and also click on that, and it is deleted as well. I'm just going to click escape on my keyboard to get out of the trim command. So to start drawing the sink, we're also going to be using the rectangle command. I'm just going to go here to the rectangle command. I'm going to click the rectangle, and I want to make sure that I know my measurement. So my measurement are 530 for the x-axis and 470 for the y-axis. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to start putting the first corner anywhere, because I know that I'm going to later move the sink exactly in the midpoint of the counter. So I'm just going to click and drag. Now I need to put in the value for the x, which is 530. I'm going to click tab on my keyboard and type 470 and enter. Now here is the outline of the sink. If I take a look at the measurement that I have, then I need to start creating another inside rectangle, okay, that is distant 50 millimeter from the outline that I have just created. Now to do that, we have a command, and this command, as we will know, is in the modify panel, and this command is called fillet. It's called, I'm sorry, offset. Now offset lives here under the explode command, okay? I can also access offset by typing offset in the keyboard and clicking enter. The first thing that offset is asking me about is the distance you want to offset this object inside, meaning that I'm going to create a copy of this object, which is this outside rectangle, to the inside, but it needs the distance. In our case, the distance is 50, as we can see. So all I have to do is type 50, which is that distance, enter. After typing the distance, now it's asking me to select the object. So this is the object that I need to make a copy of. So I'm just going to click on it. And as you can see, I can offset outside if I move my cursor outside, or I can offset inside if I moved my cursor inside. And this is actually what I want to do. So I'm just going to click inside the object, And as you can see, I have placed an exact copy of the rectangle to the inside with a distance of 50 millimeters. So in order for us now to make that quarter of a circle between the two lines, the vertical and the horizontal, instead of the corner point, we need to place a quarter of a circle. This one is 30 radius. For the inside rectangle, the quarter or the radius of the quarter of that circle is 20. So we're going to be using a command called fillet. Now fillet actually lives here under trim. If you click here on this drop down arrow, you're going to find that you have a fillet here, and you have chamfer and blend curves. The one that we need is fillet. You can also access it using the command line as we do by typing in the command. I'm going to type fillet, click enter on your keyboard. Now we can do a couple of things. First of all, we need to make sure that that AutoCAD understand that the radius, okay, here for the quarter of the circle that is going to link between this line and this line is 30 millimeters. And to do that, we need to pick the first option, which is radius. Okay, so I'm going to click on radius here, and I'm going to put the value of 30 millimeter and click enter on the keyboard. After that, I need to make sure that AutoCAD understand that I need to do this operation several times, meaning that I'm going to have to click on each one of those objects or each one of those lines to make sure that AutoCAD gives me the fillet between the corners. And because I'm going to do this operation several times, I actually need to select multiple. Multiple will tell AutoCAD that this is an operation that will be done to multiple segments. So the command is still going to be active with me. So I'm going to click on multiple here. And now I'm going to specify this line with this line. And I'm going to specify this line with this line. I'm going to specify this line with this. And I'm going to end by this line and this one. Okay, I'm going to click escape on the keyboard, and then I'm going to do fillet again. Now, how to repeat fillet again? Because the radius for this rectangle or for the lines between this rectangle are different when it comes to the radius of the corner circle. It's 20. We need to enter a new value. So this is why I'm going to go back here. I'm going to right click with the mouse. And once I right click on the mouse, I have the ability to repeat fillet. So I'm going to click on repeat fillet. And again, the first thing that I need to change is the radius. This was 30, but the inside one was 20. So I'm going to go to radius. I'm going to type 20 on the keyboard, click enter on the keyboard, and then I'm going to select multiple again. So I'm going to click on multiple, click on this line and this one, and keep doing the exact same operation until all the corners have a quarter of a circle that have a radius of 20. Once I am done, I'm just going to click escape on my keyboard to end the command. So the last part is to create the circle inside of the sink, and we know that it is placed exactly in the midpoint, between the midpoint of the vertical line of the inside rectangle and the horizontal one. So how to do that? We can do something that is very easy. The first thing that I can do is that I just want to make sure that the object snap here is selected. And from the object snap, I need midpoint to be activated. Okay, so I'm going to go to midpoint. I'm going to click on it. And once I click on it, I'm going to go to line. And I'm going to create a guideline that basically extends from this midpoint and this midpoint. Okay, I'm just going to right click and enter. So this is going to be a guide point for me from where the circle center is going to start. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on center. I also want center to be activated, so I have midpoint and center. Now I'm going to go to the circle command. I'm going to click on circle, and then I'm going to hover over till I find the midpoint of the line that I have just created. I'm just going to click and drag. Once I drag, see what the command line is asking me. It's asking me to specify the radius of the circle. We know that the radius of the circle is 50. So I'm going to type 50, enter on the keyboard, and then I'm going to go and click over that line that I have created as a guide for me. Once I click on it, I can go to erase command, and the line is going to be erased. Okay, so the last part is moving the sink to be exactly situated at the midpoint of the counter. So to do that, we're going to also use the move command. So I'm just going to click on the move command. Once I click on the move command, the command line here asks me to select the objects I want to move. In my case, those are the objects that I want to move. So I'm just clicking and dragging a big bubble around it. Once I finish selecting, I'm going to click enter on the keyboard, and then I'm going to pick that midpoint here, and I have to make sure that object OSNAP have midpoint turned on. And I'm going to go and pick the object from that midpoint. I'm going to move it. Now, if I'm having problems into snapping to the midpoint of the counter because ortho mode is on, I need to click on ortho mode to deactivate it. And I'm going to hover to find the midpoint of the counter. Once I find the midpoint of the counter, I'm going to click to place the sink. So the next video is for creating the fridge. As you can see here, we have the door, and the door is extending further from the counter about 40 millimeters. Okay, so we need to offset the segment of the line here to the outside, 40 millimeters. Okay, and we also need to account for creating an inside part for the fridge back that is offsetted. We're going to offset the segment to the inside 30 millimeters as well, and then we're going to add those small indentation here that are offsetting those small segments to the inside 30 millimeters as well. So how to do that? First of all, I will need to make sure that this is going to break. So I need to account for one thing. If I take a look here, I have the fridge. Where the fridge starts from, it starts from the beginning of the counter, from this corner point, but the width of the fridge is 813. So I need to offset this to the outside, to the inside here, 813, to account for the fridge width. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be going to the offset command again, and then I'm going to make sure that I'm going to offset this 813 because I'm offsetting this line to the inside here, 813 of a distance. So I'm just going to add 813, enter, and I'm going to select that object and offset this to become the width of the fridge. So that's the first thing. Now I'm just going to right click and enter. All right, the next thing we want to do is to offset this segment, okay, which is that small segment of the counter line to the outside 40 millimeters. So to do that, all I have to do is to actually, if you can see that if I clicked here, I'm hovering over the line and the line is extending to actually become the line of the whole counter. I can do several things to remedy this because I only need that segment. I don't need that part. So to do that, we have a command called break, okay, at point. So once I type break here, it's going to come break up or break at point. Break at point is actually what I want. Okay, so I'm just going to click on break at point here, and I'm going to select that object, and I'm going to specify this point to be the break point. So if I clicked here on this point, now I'm going to hover over and find that I have actually, the line has been divided to two segments. One of those segments is the segment that I wanted here. Okay, and this is by just making a selection of break at point. So make sure that you write it here, break at point, and selecting the line and then selecting the point where you want the line to break. After that, we need to offset this to the outside 40 millimeters. So I'm going to go to the offset command, which is located here. I'm going to specify the distance was 40 and enter. And I'm going to select this line here, and I'm going to click to the outside. I'm just going to right click and enter to end the command. Now, if I take a look at the fridge, I can see that I have the line or the vertical line extending to meet the door lines. So how to do that? Well, we saw before that the trim command, which lives in the modify panel, if I click on the drop down arrow and then I click here under trim, I'm going to find extend. So if I click on extend, I can actually hover over the line, the vertical line ends that should meet with the horizontal line below, which like this. And once I do that, you can see that the line actually extends to meet the horizontal line that we have here. And I'm going to do the exact thing for the other line like this. And I managed to extend the two vertical lines to meet with the horizontal line that I just offsetted to become the thickness of the door of the fridge. I'm just going to click on enter here to end the command. And this is the first part of the fridge that we managed to do, which is this part here. So the next thing we're going to do is we also want to break this line at this point and then offset this line here or the remaining segment to the inside 30 millimeters. So I'm going to type here break at point and select it. And then I'm going to select that object. And I'm going to specify this as the break point. And now if I hover over the object, it is just one segment. After that, I'm going to type offset, enter on my keyboard, and I'm going to specify the offset distance this time with 30 millimeters. I'm going to click enter on my keyboard, and then I'm going to hover to select this segment and go to the inside. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we just actually want to offset this to the inside with another 30 millimeters like this to just account for that small part here at the back of the fridge. So to do that, I'm just going to right click and enter to exit the offset. And I'm also going to use break to break the line at exactly that segment, because I only need that segment to be offsetted or to have a copy of it 30 millimeters. I don't need the remaining part of the line. So I'm just going to type break at point, and then I'm going to select this object. I'm going to select this point here where the line is going to break at, and I need to actually offset this to the inside 30 millimeters. So I'm going to type offset, enter, and type 30 if it was in the selection, or enter to accept the value of 30. And then I'm going to click here and move to Again, you're not moving to the outside, you're just hovering the cursor to the inside. And once you find that the line had moved to the inside, I'm just going to click to confirm that the line is in the right position. Okay, now the other part of the fridge is that we actually want to move this line here to that. So we need a copy here on that side. And I don't need to do the exact same thing of breaking the line here at one point and then offsetting that segment to the inside. We have a command that is going to help us. It's called the mirror command. And the mirror command lives here. So I'm just going to click on the mirror command from the modify panel. And I'm going to select that object here. And then after selecting it, I'm going to click enter on my keyboard. Now I want to make sure from the object snap is that midpoint is turned on, because I will actually flip a copy of this line on the other side, but by only when I have the midpoint here identified. So I need actually the midpoints to start drawing like an imaginary reflection line, because this is actually what I'm doing. I'm doing a reflection of this line to the other side. So I need to make sure that this is the midpoint of the line, and I'm only going to be able to do that because it's asking me to specify first point of mirror line, and it has to be the midpoint of that horizontal line. So I'm just going to click and drag down. Now, as you can see, once I click and drag, I have a reflection copy of the segment that is started to be placed. Now I need to make sure that this line is going to extend exactly 90-degree angle perpendicular. So if ortho is not turned on, I need to make sure that ortho is turned on now. And once I click on it, you can see that I have placed the line. Now the line is placed. Now to complete the operation of the mirror command, once I extend, I'm not clicking, I need to click. And once I click, you see that it is asking me to erase source objects. Do you want to erase the original, which we got a copy or a reflection copy of? Actually, no, because I need both copies to be there. So I'm just going to select no here. And now we can see that we have placed exactly the same copy, a reflection of it on the other side without having to do all of these steps that we had done before. So the final part of creating the galley kitchen is creating the range with the specific measurements that we have. So we're going to be doing this. I'm going to offset the line of the counter to the inside with a distance of 390. So we have a copy here marking the beginning of the range. And then after that, I'm going to offset another copy, which is going to be placed at 860, which is exactly the width of the range. So here is what we're going to be doing. I need to offset this, as we said, with a distance of 390. So I'm going to go to the offset command, and I'm going to make sure that the distance is 390, enter. And I'm going to click here on this side and go to the inside to make sure that I'm placing the line to the inside. And then after that, I need to offset this line to the inside with a specific distance of 860. So I'm going to go and type here. Now here it's asking me to select object to offset. Well, I don't, even if I selected this object to offset, I need to specify a different distance. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to click escape on my keyboard, and I'm going to right click with the mouse, and I'm going to select repeat offset to repeat the offset command. Now after that, I need to change that value here to reflect the width of the range, which is 860. So I'm just going to type 860, enter, and I'm going to click on this line here and go to the inside and click again to place the other line marking the width of my range. I'm going to right click and enter to end the command. And now I need to use break at point to make sure that I'm going to offset this line to the inside. I can also do something different this time. I can actually offset this whole line to the inside with 55 millimeters distance. And if I did that, I can use later, I can use trim to trim the excess part. So let's do this time. So what I'm going to be doing is this. I'm going to go to offset, enter, and I need to offset this line to the inside with about 55 millimeters. So I'm going to type 55 and enter. And I'm going to select this line here, and I'm going to go to the inside. So I offsetted this line to the inside like that. Now I know that I only need this part of the line, and I don't need this or this. So I can use the trim command that I have learned before. So I'm going to go here up, and I'm going to click on trim. I'm going to select trim, and I'm going to click on this part of the line. And once I hover over it, I can see it's grayed out with an X mark. So I'm going to click on it. And I'm also going to hover over this part and click on it. So right now, I managed to actually just keep the part that I want and erase or trim or cut the redundant parts that I don't want. All right, so now we're going to start creating this circle here, and then we're going to mirror it to the other side. What are we going to be doing is I need a rectangle that is going to start from this corner, and the rectangle is going to be 236 by 172, and I will use its corner point, okay, to create a circle with a radius of 141. And then after that, I'm going to delete that rectangle. So this is what I will be doing. I'm going to go to the rectangle command. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hover over this point. I want to make sure, first of all, that ortho mode is turned on. So I'm going to right click here and make sure that endpoint, I'm sorry, not ortho mode, the endpoint is turned on. And then I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to drag. Now, I need to specify a point on the negative direction. And why on the negative direction? Because take a look here. Here is the, if I move my cursor to this side, I can see that the negative direction is here on the X, because that's the negative direction of the X axis. Okay, so any value that I would put here, it has to have minus in front of it. Again, why? Because I'm going against the positive direction of the X. The positive direction of the X is here. So if I'm going to put any value here, it has to be with the minus first, because I'm going against that positive direction. And we have the value here of 236. So I need to put minus 236. And I'm going to click tab on my keyboard and type 172, which is in the Y direction, but I'm not putting any minus values because I am going in the right direction for the Y, the positive direction. And then I'm going to click enter on my keyboard. So now I have actually marked with that corner point of the rectangle where the circle is going to start. And I know from the drawing that the circle radius is 141. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go to the circle command. I'm going to click on it from the draw menu. I'm just going to hover till I find the endpoint, which is the corner point of that rectangle. I'm going to click and drag. Now, I know that my radius is 141. So I'm going to type in the radius value from my keyboard and click enter. Now, after that, since I don't need that rectangle anymore, I'm just going to click on it. And I'm going to click on erase here from the modify panel. And the next thing that I want to do is to use mirror, okay? And instead of redrawing the circle on the other side, I'm just going to use a mirror command to make an exact copy on the other side. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to the mirror command and I'm going to select this object. I'm going to click enter on the keyboard. and it's asking me to select the first point of mirror line. Now I want to make sure that I hover on the midpoint and the midpoint is selected, so I'm hovering. Once I get to the midpoint of this line, I'm going to click and drag down. And once I click and drag down, you're going to see that another exact copy of the circle had been placed. Now you need to click again for the other copy to be confirmed. And you want to erase source objects? No, you don't want to erase source objects. You want to keep the original. So I'm going to click on the no. And we have placed another exact copy on the other side. So now we have another circle here for the range. So I have it placed the circle center that is placed, or distance, 158 from this vertical line and 114 from this horizontal line. So I'm going to use a rectangle as a guide, as we had seen down there. The rectangle is going to be 158 by 114. So let's do that. I'm going to click on the rectangle command, click here on this point and drag. Now this time, since I'm dragging in the opposite direction of the X and Y, so I actually need to put the values in both in minus, as you can see here. Okay, so I have one value that is 158, so it's going to be minus 158 for the X. I'm going to click tab and type minus 114 for the Y and click enter. And I have placed the corner point from where the circle center is going to start. Now the radius here that we have is 76. So I'm going to go to the circle command. I'm going to click on the corner point here. I'm going to click and drag, and I need to put the value for the radius at 76 and enter. Once I am finished of creating the circle, I'm just going to click here and delete this rectangle. The final part for this circle, to have a copy on the other side, we're going to do exactly the same as we did with a bigger circle. We're going to go to the mirror command. Once I click on the mirror command, I'm going to click on the circle. I'm going to click enter on my keyboard, and then I'm going to hover and click here on this midpoint and go down. Once I go down, I want to make sure that I click again. And you want to erase source object? No, I do not want to erase the source object, which is the original circle. So the final part is placing this circle at exactly 133 distance from the range backline, and at 431. We can do the exact same thing, or if you don't want to be that much precise, okay, we can just go down from the midpoint of the range and take that distance with a line, which is 133. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to click on the line command, and I'm going to hover over the midpoint. I'm going to click and drag, and as I go down, I need that line to be 133 in distance. So I typed 133 and clicked enter. Now, after that, I'm going to right click and enter to end the command, the line command. And then I'm going to go to the circle command. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to hover over the endpoint of the line that I just created. So I'm just going to click to mark the center of the circle, and I'm going to move to the side. Now I know that the radius for this circle was 106. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to type 106 and enter. After that, I can go and click on this line and delete it. And if I just zoomed out, this is the result that you should have. And this is basically the end of making the galley kitchen.